Okay, we're going to call things to order and start with a roll call. Commissioner Gordon,
Present.
Commissioner Miyagi,
Here.
Commissioner Shen,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
Okay, great. So first off, I'd like to say for oral communications, we have a number of agenda items, and the way we'd like to sequence the oral communications, if you have something you'd like to share for the commission and staff to hear, please write it down and hand it to Nadia. Like, we have some of these, and we'll do them in the order of the not at the beginning, but in this kind of in sequence as we take each item of business. Anyway, so let's get going with the approval of minutes from last time, from our meeting on the 19th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we are approved from last time. Any staff comments this week, Elise?
Just one brief one. I don't know if you noticed in the dark, but the artwork forge is out on the on King Plaza. We have had more than 300 people engage with the piece so far, and it has stimulated a lot of really interesting and animated discussion. So we've been really happy with the way it performed, and we look forward to enjoying it for another 6 months. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's just out front. If you haven't seen it, it's worth put your dollar in, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, thank you. So our first item of business is the Bowman School project.
So why do you mind putting the microphone on that side so that is recorded?
Okay, great.
And you can just let Nadia know when you want to. Yeah.
Okay, super. So my name is Mary Beth Ricks, and I'm the head of school at Bowman School in Palo Alto. And we are coming here with our public art project. So you can go. So just really quickly, as a review of what Bowman is about, we're here to offer a Montessori K-8 and actually preschool through 8 eventually. We've been in Palo Alto for 23 years, offering Montessori elementary school that whole time. So this slide just gives you a couple quick facts. We have a 10-to-1 ratio. We're a really small school. We have 37 full-time teachers and 250 children. Our goal with this project that we're doing is to add the preschool and bring us up to exactly 300 children, which will keep us in line with our CUP at both projects. So we recently bought this property that's down the street from us. The Arrestadero property is actually 2 pieces of property together, and it equals 1.3 acres. So that will give us almost 3 to 4 acres of property in total with our current site and the additional site. We're merging the lots, and that has created some interesting issues with our architecture, because when you merge the lots, we have actually now more rules to follow. And so we have passed the Architectural Review Board. We've passed the CUP last spring, and we're here to, we're almost ready to submit for building permits, and this is our last hurdle. So here you can see on the map of where our school is compared to where the Arrestadero site is. The new site will include 3- and 4-year-olds in addition to our other children. It will also have an idea lab, which is a STEM lab that's 5,000 square feet of design thinking. It will have an outdoor space for gardening and gathering and lessons, and it's in a sort of a sense of a learning village. That's what we call it, and we will allow us to remain in Palo Alto, which we're really happy about. So goal number 1 was, that we would have this preschool program to add to our original program. We're adding 40 new students, and goal number 2 is this extension of what we currently do with STEAM and adding the wood shop, an art studio, and a science and media lab. And goal number 3 was to have much more outdoor space than we currently have, with science gardens and greenhouse. And the children are very involved in this process of designing and thinking about what's going to go there, and that goes in line with what we're doing with the art project. And then a gym with a theater. And then goal number 5 was to stay in our neighborhood. So we had this site proposal, and like I said, we've gone through all of the process, so you can go on. We are trying to do this project in as much Montessori style as we possibly can, which means that the children are significantly involved in the whole project. Our architects we chose are very attuned to what the children need. The construction company we chose is allowing the children to have 5 or 6 safe and sane, as they put it, days on site where they get to contribute to the building of the project in the sense of like watching the dirt being scooped out and watching how to pour the foundation and contribute in different ways. And then in addition, we're having the contribution of the art proposal. So we've submitted our art proposal to you. We came last spring in 2016 to tell you that we were about to do this. And then in the fall, our artist that we selected has come to Bowman and worked with our students. And the students have basically written a poem and designed this method of art in the sidewalk, similar to what you see in Haymarket Street in Boston and other places in the world, dating all the way back to the Romans. So they did some research on Roman artwork and putting mosaics in floors. And then they've written this poem that is in our submission that's quite long, but it investigates the 10 tenets of a Montessori school. So, and that's about it. The rest of them are just pictures of the school so that people could be familiar with the work. And then I think my architect has a larger scale drawing of where all the artwork is going to go. Would you want to bring it?
This is a drawing you have in your package there as well, but just, I'm sorry. Can I get that close to it? Is that all right? Okay. This is a drawing that is similar to the one that you have in your package, but just to refresh your vision here. The artwork is to start out at Arrestadero Street. The existing school campus is up at this end of more towards El Camino. So the kids, when they come down to this site, will come in this walkway here, and you can see these squiggly lines and where the poem starts here. So they will experience it on their way to this campus, as will anybody who comes in this way. They will experience it as you see some more of the poem is embedded in the concrete walkways here. This area here is intended to be a concrete walkway that's part of the driveway, not a walkway is part of the driveway, but an extension of this main axis that runs down through the middle of the campus. And what it does is it helps celebrate a large heritage oak tree that we have on site here. So the connection between this oak tree and this curvilinear form and the artwork really starts to celebrate the entry into this campus. There is here a set of entry gates, and that is where the artwork stops, so that really all of the artwork can be experienced by not only the students, but by the general public, which is the sole goal of this, is that this be a public art feature.
Is the green circle there, or the sort of jagged, that's the footprint of the live oak tree?
That is, yes.
Yeah, wow, it's a big tree.
Very, yes.
Thank you.
Any questions? I have one question. Is the
Okay.
poem already written? Is it something?
Yes,
is
it's
it
in the packet, actually. And so he came, Kamau Patton is from Chicago, but originally also from Palo Alto, did his degree at Stanford. It's in, his resume's in your packet. And he has come and worked with the children and asked them to help him define what Montessori means to them with these 10 tenets of Montessori.
okay.
And so they worked together in 2 groups during some workshops. The goal of our school is always that the children then learn some knowledge and take this back. So Kamau will be coming back, and these children will become his assistant teachers, and they will work with the rest of the school to create other poetry that will go on our current site or behind the gate.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is really cool about this is it sort of plays up another theme. I don't know if you've seen the piece that's at the Public Library and the Art Center.
No, I haven't.
It's language and it's sort of understanding, well, how did you do it? Anyway, it's a similar piece conceptually, except it's with orbs that light up.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
The content of it was created by the community and it puts in different languages.
Yeah.
What's the in the way that the poem will be kind of imprinted, if you will, is it going to be stamped? Is it tile?
I'm
do
going
you
to
guys
turn
know?
that over to the architect.
You know yet?
Yeah.
The way that this will be put together is these are 3-inch high letters, stainless steel letters, 1/4 of an inch thick, that are then water jet cut to form the letters. They are then mounted on studs or like threaded rods that are about that long. And then down at the bottom, there'll be a plate that holds them all together so that they can be set into the formwork and then concrete poured around them and troweled off.
Wow,
And that's what holds it all in place. And so that you don't get things that are getting off in plumb or what have you in there.
I think it's super exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations, that's
thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Are any other questions or comments?
I do. I think I told you before, I liked where you added the A to STEM and made it STEAM. And I really
Yes.
like this project that the children are involved. And that gives them some ownership. And was it all grades that were involved in this?
Currently, the grades that were involved were 4th through 8th.
Okay.
And they're going to be responsible to work with Kamau to teach how to do this to the K through 3rd.
All right, great. So, yeah, I think it's a great project. And also in San Jose, they have one like this too, that's from Cesar Chavez Park out to San Jose State, which have the swirls in the pavement there for the Ernesto Galarza. So that, reminiscent of that, but I think this is a great idea, and it's going to be very durable too.
Yes.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we approve.
Such
Yeah.
a great project.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Super exciting. I like the task is to, was it calm the wandering mind?
Yeah,
Fix the
walking on a line is a part of our curriculum as well. It's a sort of a calming technique of meditation that they do, so he used that as well.
Very cool.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, so moving on to our second item of business is digital DNA. I think we have some staff comments first, and then we'll take public comment.
And I just want to say that we have some public speakers to the item.
Right.
After this.
Okay.
Well, good evening, Commissioners. We're up to item 2, deaccession of artworks. This is for Digital DNA, which is by Adriana Varela and Nilton Maltz. So here you see 2 images of this sculpture. On the left, this is from Adriana Varela's website. This is shortly after it was installed in 2005. And on the right-hand side is pretty close to what it looks like now. It was taken in August 2017 when we initiated this deaccession process. So the timeline of key events, hopefully you had a chance to look through the staff report. The item has been on the agenda or discussed in more than 60 commission meetings, so it's been an ongoing discussion. Here, we're just going to walk through some of the salient points of the timeline. So in 2002, the commission approved digital DNA and began to look for a site. They didn't have a site in mind. Later, Lytton Plaza was identified. In 2004, the artwork was completed and in storage when a warehouse fire destroyed it. The commission then approved a second contract with Adriana Varela and Maltz to remake the piece. We were reimbursed eventually. It took a couple years through insurance for that first one. Digital DNA was installed at Lytton Plaza in 2005. The artwork was vandalized very shortly thereafter. Luckily, Adriana was here and we commissioned her to make repairs. In 2006, again, she came out to make repairs to the piece. In 2007, there was damage to the sculpture reported, and we as staff started taking care of some of these issues internally and using some of our art crew. In 2009, Varela was commissioned to completely refurbish the artwork off-site during the Lytton Plaza renovation. So the egg was moved to an off-site city facility where she was able to work on it. She replaced a lot of the circuit boards, recoated the entire piece. It was reinstalled in Lytton Plaza in December of 2009. And in looking at the minutes, you can see that by April of 2010, there's already commission discussion about the deterioration of the piece. That December, Adriana Varela came back and presented a proposal to remake the sculpture for $82,000. She found a partner group who was willing to do some crowdfunding to raise the funds. The commission decided that that was not the avenue they wanted to take, and that we should explore perhaps if there was a place to store it indoors. There was a lot of discussion at that time that even if the commission did decide to have the piece remade, that by the nature of the materials, there's no guarantee that it's not going to deteriorate again. 2012, the city made more repairs to the sculpture. And at that point, we had exhausted all of our potential indoor locations for the piece. 2013, we hired a conservator to make a full report and treat the sculpture. This was all done in collaboration with the artist. There were lots of emails back and forth to show what products he was intending to use. In 2014, the coating was already failing. So while he had done tests over several months on circuit boards in his yard, the reality was it failed within a few months once again. In 2015, staff hired ARG to perform a condition evaluation, which was part of your packet. The condition does note the deterioration of the boards, but also instability of the core of the piece. In 2016, the master plan consultants also shared their evaluation of the piece, which is included in the report. In 2017, in May, staff updated the commission on digital DNA and the other artworks identified as high priority for addressing their condition. And the commission did make that a priority for us to address those artworks. Digital DNA was one of them. In August, the Public Art Commission approved the initiation of this deaccession review, and the artists were notified via mail, email, and phone of the deaccession process the day after that meeting in August. So these are all the costs associated with digital DNA to date, which includes that first commission and the second commission. This does not include a lot of the staff time, the crew time, and smaller efforts to go replace screws, put in putty where things had popped out, things like that. And so here, these are a few of the current conditions of the piece. We were just out there yesterday, and it's not just that the coating has failed, the boards themselves are deteriorating. So there are pieces of material on the surface that are clearly crumbling off of the sculpture. The artist did recommend at one point perhaps putting it behind a plexi box. Staff does not think that that's going to be feasible at Lytton Plaza. And it still doesn't address some of the concerns with light still hitting those materials. So here's a couple of close-ups where you can see it really just falling apart. On the right side, you can see where the texture has really changed depending on what material is still there and what's come off. On the left, you see an image that utilizes gold leaf. At one time, Adriana Varela had suggested gold leafing the entire sculpture as a way to preserve the surface. As you can see from this one small sample, it's been scraped away. And I asked the commission to please keep in mind the reasons for deaccession as outlined in this policy. That the issue is really with the materials at hand. This artwork, currently, we would never put something like this outdoors. So these are the reasons we are asking for the commission to consider deaccession. The artist will be given 90 days to remove the piece. She can have it returned if she would like to. There's also a letter that came late in the day, which is here at Place, saying that she's entered into discussions with Menlo College about the possibility of relocating the piece to their campus. Is there anything you want to add?
Not right now.
Okay. So that's it for our report right now.
Okay, thank you. So we have some public comments. The first is Ruth Robertson. You have 3 minutes. If you could just come to the mic and press the button so you see the light. You only have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Let me say that's okay.
And ma'am, once you start, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I'll give you a 1 minute warning and a 30-second warning, and then time will be over.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
May I say that I'm speaking on behalf of the Raging Grannies, and have also received recent communication from the artist herself, and so I'd like 3 minutes for the Grannies and 3 minutes for the, so I'd like 6 minutes if that's possible.
I'm sorry, you could have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the Raging Grannies are an anti-war and social activist group. We've been contacted by a new group called Friends of Digital DNA. We are in solidarity with their concerns, but specifically we are concerned about more time for public comment. Barbara's been here since 1959. I've been here 25 years. We read the papers daily, and we don't feel like, we read the Post, we read the Palo Weekly. We don't feel like there was any sort of encouragement for people to come ahead, to come in and comment. So that's our main concern. Also, we would want to know, we have some questions. We question what are you calling excessive maintenance as opposed to normal maintenance? That is not made clear in any of the materials we've studied, and we've done extensive online research. Now I will speak from the Friends of Digital DNA, and they've written a letter that is from the digital DNA itself. So it's in the language if the sculpture could speak. One of my creators cannot appear for you today because we refused to move the meeting in spite of the fact that Adriana Varela has an art opening in New York City that was scheduled months before you sent the letter announcing your decision. I have learned that many members of the Palo Alto community were not aware that I, Digital DNA, was considered for decommission by the city. Not being aware of it, they obviously had no ability to voice their opinion about whether I should stay or go. If you want truly to be a public art commission, rather than a censorship committee, you must give the citizens of Palo Alto the opportunity to weigh in on me. Please give Palo Alto residents the opportunity to speak. More publicity on the issue is warranted. Contrary to what has been said by members of the commission, I am not in a state of disrepair, but rather in need of basic maintenance, which I have not had since 2010. I resisted once an ignorant neighbor who threw away all the circuit boards that Adriana spent 6 months embroidering because he didn't imagine these circuits could be transformed into art. Later, I resisted an explosion and fire. Adriana did everything again, and even better, and I was reborn like a phoenix from the fire. And later I resisted developers, ignorance about what contemporary art can be, and more. And now I face this death sentence from a group of people that just wants to exterminate me. I ask myself why. Why do you want to kill me? It is my opinion, as well as that of many others, that the real reason there is a push to remove is not my state, but my content, the political message embedded in me, which talks about how our modern technology can enslave us. It is perhaps no coincidence that one of the members of this commission is an employee of Palantir Technologies. Palantir works with federal agencies like ICE, building data tools for immigration enforcement that look suspiciously like a Muslim registry. It is no secret that Palantir is in the business of assisting the government in surveillance of its citizens. When a public art commission starts using tricks of process and bureaucracy to facilitate removal of art for political reasons, it stops being an art commission and becomes a censorship committee. And Adriana has sent here today a copy I'll have for each of you, and I can send it digitally to you as well. I'll also give you a copy of this letter. And this is her piece of art, and it's called Committee of Censorship. It's called Censorship Committee of Palo Alto, and is on display at her current art show in New York City.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just so you know, as a kind of we're not as the commission to respond. We're just to hear your input.
Yeah, that was made.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of this.
Thank you very much. Barbara Baxter Berman, please. Yes, and Ben will give you the sign up with also 3 minutes. Thanks very much.
No, I don't think, this isn't going to take 3 minutes, I don't think. I'm a local artist. I'm one of those people who just paint stuff on pieces of paper that are not, I just paint on pieces of paper that are made of just cotton, that is all melted down. They're Chinese papers, and they probably don't last either, although there are Chinese paintings that have been well cared for by famous people or whatever, and have lasted for 1,000 years or more. So who's to say? I don't know. I'm interested in this piece, Digital DNA, because it's a piece that is in a very accessible area where young people come. And although I've watched, I've been very careful to try to understand it. People don't really look carefully at it, but they seem to make way for it somehow. It's a very curious piece, and you have to remember that in an art historical sense, it is a product of a time when people picked up stuff and put it all together and then let life happen to it. And that's what, if you stop and think about it, that's really what's happening to the digital egg now. It's in the process of continuing its life. And maybe that's not a very smart thing for an artist to do, to have a piece that's put out in the rain, cold, heat, light, when it's made of plastic things that can break and deteriorate very rapidly. Maybe it should be put, in some little room somewhere. But the nice thing about digital DNA is that that it's around young people. It's in the process of being itself, and it's living its life. And it came out of a period when recycling was just being invented. It came out of a period when that was considered a very interesting and very adventurous aspect of art and art history, and it's doing its thing. It's actually living its own life. And my thought, as a stupid artist who doesn't have to clean it up, is that it should be just allowed to kind of molder if that's what it's going to do, because that's its historic thing. Is that 30 mean I have 30 seconds? Thank you. So that would, if speaking as an artist, that would be my thought. The destiny of digital DNA is for it to just eventually collapse. So let it. Why not? What the heck? We haven't lost anything. This is Palo Alto. Hey, we clean our streets. We can clean around it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Carolyn Redding. Is there a Carolyn Redding? Oh, there you are. Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm just Adriana Varela's attorney, and I just wanted to renew our request to postpone the deaccession vote so that she can be here. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to come in and share opinions, and I think that it's the process of deaccessioning. We hadn't had a policy until we came through with the master plan, and we spent a lot of time thinking about it, and we deliberately structured it in such a way so that there actually would be time for the public to provide input. And our agenda is, what we do each week is always publish well in advance of when we have our meeting. So we initially took the recommendation to consider the deaccession process in August, as Elise was explaining. So it's not as if this is the first time to come and comment. It's a second time, and I want to reiterate that the process by which staff and the conservatorship and the amount that we've invested to restore a piece it's challenging. The piece has materials and uses things that are really hard to be outside. And if it were done today and we were considering what we'd vote on something today, would we put something like this in place, knowing that the materials are not suited for an outdoor environment? I think that most of us would say, no, it would not be a good idea. Those are my initial comments. Other members of the commission, comments,
Did
questions?
you have another speaker for this item or no?
No. Oh, wait, did I miss just three? Oh, no, I missed one. I'm sorry, Shong Yin. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Hi, pardon. I'm also here, I guess, with Carolyn, but no further comments.
Okay. Sorry that I missed you.
Well, I heard an interesting comment actually about letting the piece deteriorate, and I don't know, that was definitely not a discussion that we had per se, but it's a very interesting discussion point, and it's something that I don't think we have in our our master plan anything about letting works of art kind of take their place. But I guess it's just something of interest that just caught my attention. So I appreciate whoever brought that up, that they shared that.
I would actually just respond to that comment. I think one of the things that we considered was the material, and some of the material that goes into the making of some of these boards are actually rare earth, right, material. And so they're really not necessarily designed to be touched by human skin or to be sort of in contact. So we don't really know the health concerns that related to the context of that exposure to such a public environment. So that's something sort of we touch upon, and our main concern is, was this piece really built for this environment, for this exposure, for the public? Obviously we appreciate it for its historical, art historical value, but the reason for the accession is really just sort of more contextual and whether or not it will endure in that environment in a sustainable manner.
You don't seriously think, excuse me, I'm sorry. We can't, actually, the
Yeah.
commissioner, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify, Raina Halper, Assistant Director for Community Services. I just want to clarify that the discussion is now amongst the commission, and there is no crosstalk between the public and the commissioners.
Right, so that's helpful commentary. Ben and Lauren, do you guys have any thoughts or comments?
I appreciate that the city of Palo Alto has really tried to find a solution and to maintain this piece, and I appreciate that. But I do believe that the piece is deteriorating, and we aren't able to maintain it in a good state for public, for the public to be around it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'd say I think that it's the process for discussing this. It's hard. Like, no one wants to see art go away. So for me personally, I think it's not a happy thing. But we have invested a lot of time and a lot of money to try to find solutions, and I'm hoping that the piece can find another home somewhere. So I'd like to. Do we have a motion to deaccession?
So moved.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So our next item, number 3, is Go Mama. So I don't think we have any public comments on this one.
I don't think so.
Do you want to give a kind of recap of where we are with this one?
Of course, I'd be glad to. So, different part of town, skip over to California Avenue. Go Mama. Oh, wait, I'm doing the wrong thing here. So here on the left, you see an image of Go Mama shortly after it was installed. And on the right, you see a picture of the sculpture taken in August 2017. There are a couple of significant things I want to point out about these photographs. Go Mama is sited in what was a former planter that then was retrofit, so they poured concrete into it in order to make the base for the sculpture. So it wasn't created for the piece. The other thing to note is that at the time that this was commissioned, the public art didn't have to go through as strenuous a process as it does now. So we've been operating off of no real structural drawings. We have, the artist has been really helpful in providing us a couple of sketches of her recollection, and same with the foundry of how it's mounted. But we do not have, normally we would have specifications, stamped engineered drawings, all of those things in place. We have none of that for this piece, which isn't uncommon for things that were commissioned at that time. However, if you look at the image on the left, you'll notice that there are bushes around the piece. So there was a buffer of hedge all around the piece, and so people were not touching her, interacting with her that much. So it really didn't create much of an issue. Now, what happened when the streetscape was completely redone and they bulbed out that corner and really exposed her, we didn't anticipate this would be such a big issue, but the piece rocks a lot and is being climbed on. And it's children, it's adults, it's at the farmer's market. So there are a number of key things that have shifted here. You know, the thing to keep in mind about this one, the sculpture was originally commissioned for $15,000. And as you can see here, there's been very little in the way of maintenance. Bronze is a hardy material that is suitable for outdoor display. Although now that she's getting more physical interaction, we really need to clean her more frequently because she has lots of fingerprints and that deteriorates the surface. So installation of the footing and the sculpture in 2000, fabrication installation of a small plaque there in 2001. You see several treatments of waxing and cleaning by the art crew, and in 2011 the face had faded quite a bit, so we hired Marta Toma to come out and refresh the face. These are some of the ongoing concerns we have about the piece. So the increased physical interaction with the new streetscape is very problematic as far as deteriorating the surface as well as a hazard, potential hazard. The base has constant food stains on it because people are eating, looking for a spot to sit during the farmer's market. And she seems like a great spot to sit on, which we don't mind so much, but it is leaving quite a bit of staining. The cast leaves that were in the base have detached and been lost. And finally, and I think most importantly, is the lack of stability of the piece, that it really can't hold up the kind of standards that we require. If a large individual decided to really go get aggressive with the piece, we don't know what that support pipe, what kind of condition it's in, or if it will hold. So here are just a couple of videos. So this is with a fairly light touch. We'll see if we can get it to play. It's not even showing that much there.
Sometimes it takes a few seconds to catch up. Very good.
But the piece moves pretty freely. I think and then here's the detail of the foot, and if you look carefully when it moves, the concrete around the foot to try and help stabilize her is also moving with the foot. So it's not actually connected to the base plane anymore. So we contacted the artist and the foundry, and you know, they worked on trying to find a potential solution for the piece without deinstalling it. So they did come up with a proposal to open up the foot, weld a rod to the existing rod that's inside the leg, and have a second piece come down in the toe of the foot. Well, so I met with some of our public works engineers and went out there and really discussed it. It is not going to solve the rocking issue. If it was an issue rocking front to back, it may help, but this is not going to do anything to alleviate the side-to-side rocking. And we just cannot guarantee the safety of the piece. So these are the reasons we're looking at for deaccession of the artwork. The structural condition, we don't know how that pipe is holding in the leg. We do not believe that the fix that's been recommended is going to remedy the issue. We have been in touch with the artist, and she has expressed an interest, if the commission does decide to deaccession the piece, that she would like it returned. And she's been very helpful throughout this whole process and trying to come up with solutions, but we do not have a suitable solution to stabilize the artwork at this time. And I think that's it for my report.
How much does the piece weigh?
Again, there
We don't
weren't
know.
exact records there. The estimate we got from the foundry was probably about 300 pounds. And so in this case, there is some value just to the metal itself. And so potentially it would be sold back to the artist just for the value of the metal. There is quite a bit, the dress, the top part of it is much thicker and heavier, and the legs are hollow, and that is also causing some of the stability issues.
Okay. I just was mentioned before folks came in, but Saturday was on California Avenue, and I saw like two kids hanging on it, and I'm like, oh my God. And it scares me. And this one is, if it were in a place where it's 10 feet off the ground, great. But I think with the change in California Avenue, to me, it's a real concern, just from a safety standpoint. I think it's something that if you left it there another 50 years, the bronze is going to be fine. But I think the considerations for some kid yanking it down and the city facing a lawsuit, I don't want to risk that. I don't know, other folks have comments.
I was actually going to agree. Similar to digital DNA, I like the idea of artworks taking their course, but when it comes to safety, I think we have to be very careful. And when there's a lawsuit that comes our way, that's not going to be fun. So I rather take precaution, and hopefully the pieces will both go to a good home.
Well, my concern is safety, again, and I think the concrete under the foot is so small and thin that at any time could crack, and then that would go over. And I think that could be the big problem, especially we're getting in the rainy season now, too. That's going to hurt things as well. So I think just for safety is a good reason to take it down.
I agree, the sculpture shouldn't rock. Go Mama has been great to have living on California Avenue. I appreciate you, the city of Palo Alto, trying to restore it. It doesn't seem that it can be done, and it's very gracious of the artist to take Go Mama back. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I approve the deaccession of Go Mama.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just wanted to say a concluding comment. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is just on the big picture of deaccession in the field of public art. It really is something that is a very sensitive topic, because when public art started 50, 60, 70 years ago, it just was never thought about. And starting about 30 years ago, the art pieces started to deteriorate, cause safety problems, cost more than their value, et cetera. And this is something the field has really been trying to grapple with for a long time, because, of course, like Jim said, nobody wants to deaccession art. You want more art. But we do, just like with any construction project, we do acknowledge in the field and here in the city that pieces do have a lifespan. And that's why we have moved over the last 5 years to, when we do a contract on a new piece, we do address deaccession. You know, how long is the life of this piece? So that, you know, in the field and in our policies, we are being able to embrace the inevitability of the need for deaccession after some amount of time, 20, 30, 40 years. Sometimes, you know, it's only a couple years as we see more temporary pieces in the field. So I just wanted to say that on the record, because I think, you know, this is the first time we've had this policy, and that I really appreciate the commission and staff you know, facing this and dealing with it. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question? I don't know if it was mentioned in the master. Do we have, what is our insurance policy in terms of for safety? Is there, I mean, that's another kind of question. I don't want to spend too much time, but do you happen to know if the city, like in terms of insurance, what are?
Yeah, we have insurance, but yeah, I mean, we can always be sued for, on, you know, things that happen on city property.
Great, thank you. So continuing along, our next item is the, I think we voted, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The next item is the Bike Boulevards pilot project.
Okay. So as the commissioners may recall, back in May 2017, we first introduced the Bike Boulevard pilot project to the commission. So the commission then approved the pilot and allocated funding to move forward with the project. So today we're presenting the two final design proposals to the commission and recommending that you select and approve the final design proposal for the Bike Boulevard's Art Crosswalk pilot to be integrated into the Lewis Fielding raised intersection Midtown Palo Alto. Just a few words about the project. So this public art opportunity is a pilot beautification project for Lewis Road and Fielding Road along bike pedestrian intersection. It's part of a larger city's more comprehensive neighborhood traffic safety and bike boulevard project. So really that larger project represents a significant step towards Palo Alto's vision of a system of neighborhood bicycle and pedestrian routes. This is the map of the overall traffic safety project. You can see that this project spans over a few different residential areas across Palo Alto. So the area identified for our pilot project is that yellow S-like line. It falls under the phase 5 in this project, and the tentative timeline for construction is January through April 2018.
Nadia, isn't it the gold one at the bottom? The Lewis?
Number 5.
It's not number 9?
Number 5, so
Okay.
it would be right here.
Okay.
Lewis is
Oh, yeah,
just
Lewis, yeah,
adjacent
got it,
to
okay.
Aristotelo. Okay. Just a few words about the immediate neighborhood. So when considering the design proposals today, it's important to keep in mind the immediate environment. So Lewis and Fielding intersection is situated in a established residential neighborhood. So traffic may be calm throughout the day. However, being adjacent to Aloni Elementary School, Lewis Road acts as a main local roadway connecting pedestrians, bicycles, and drivers to the school and farm. So it can get really crowded and busy, especially during the school rush hours. Also, many drivers take that road to get to 101, and so that can really, especially during the commute hours. So speed control and pedestrian safety must be also considered. But besides Aloni Elementary, the other stakeholders in the community are Palo Alto Buddhist Temple, Shabbat Community Center Summer Camp, Friends of Palo Alto Group, and of course many families living in the area. Just to walk you through the process, since our last conversation in May, staff put together a request for design proposals. We received 15 submissions from artists and design professionals, all local to the Bay Area, many from Palo Alto. the panel, we put together a panel, and the panel was comprised of Christopher Corral, a senior transportation planner with the city, Rob Robinson, chair of the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee, Fanny Radstack, studio program director for Palo Alto Art Center, Megan Stevens, local artist and muralist, and Alisa Erickson, a Spectre art teacher at Ohlone and former Ohlone parent. The panelists reviewed all 15 submissions and identified 2 shortlisted designs, which we have brought to you today. So along with the design proposals, we are also providing a printout of public comments. And it's important to note that as soon as the finalists were identified, we did an intensive community outreach and just knocked on the doors of all the immediate neighbors who would be facing the new intersection. Also published the results on our website, social media, just to spread the word out and welcome public feedback. Time-wise, so once we identify the finalists today, we will work with the artist and manufacturer to assess the design, and perhaps it may be tweaked in terms of colors and design complexity. And this will in turn inform the cost estimates for the entire project. I mean, that including fabrication and installation. In terms of installation, ideally we're looking to install the art project towards the end of the construction project, so we're really working to coincide with the construction timeline. Okay, so in terms of the project goals, these were the selection criteria for the designs. We're looking for an integrated design that would enhance safety and connectivity for people walking, biking, and driving, so all participants. We would want that design to be appropriate for the immediate physical environment and just thinking of the neighborhood. And of course, the design would draw its inspiration from unique character of the community, its diverse history, and so on. Okay, and just before we jump to the proposals, also it's important to note that the RFP specified that we welcome 2 variations of the design. Just to cover the entire raised intersection with the design, or perhaps just the 4 intersections. Okay, and so this brings me to the first finalist. So this proposal came from Tiffany Stakem and the Anna Williamson Architect Group. It's a local group from Menlo Park. So this proposal is called Parabolic Crosswalk, the Intersection of Art and Math. In their design proposal, they just put a brief description. Math and art, 2 subjects that are not often associated. There are 2 subjects that transcend age, ethnicity, religion, and even language. The parabolic crosswalk celebrates the connection of the 2, just as the city of Palo Alto celebrates the coming together of the diverse and fascinating community that work together to make Palo Alto what it's today: colorful, bright, beautiful, curious, and inspiring. The parabolic crosswalk presents a learning opportunity that is subtly implied. It doesn't strike you every day, but the curious mind will be intrigued by it in exploration. So the design has a subtle interpretive quality to it that blends science, math, art, and integration, local interaction together. It's elegant. It invites discovery. It is visually navigates the patterns for the young pedestrians crossing that wide intersection. So as a result of the selection panel review, this proposal was ranked slightly higher than the other one. The panelists favored the design for the entire intersection and also the design option for the extended crosswalks. Introducing the second proposal. So Damon's design. So this design is is titled "Go with the Flow" by Damon Bellinger. It's a local artist and graphic designer. So Damon's design was the second highest scored proposal during this discussion. So over the two design variations, the panel especially favored the crosswalk option, highlighting that this design would attract people's attention to cross the street using the designated crosswalks and therefore enhance public safety. In his proposal, Damon just listed this brief description. In Japanese and Chinese culture, koi fish are symbolic of good fortune, prosperity, and longevity. Because they are known to swim against the strong currents, they're also associated with ambition. The strong connection to Japanese culture ties this art walk with the Buddhist temple down the street, and pedestrians and commuters alike will appreciate the many positive symbolic meanings. So here you have both design proposals, and before I pass the word to you, just want to remind of the motion today. So in conclusion, staff recommends the commissioners select and approve one of the final proposals for artistic design for the Bike Boulevard pilot project to be integrated at the Lewis and Fielding raised intersection. Thank you.
Thank you. I had two questions. One is, was anyone from the temple down the street on the committee?
We made several attempts reaching out to temple board to invite them be part of the selection panel. However, I did not succeed.
Okay. Thank you. And the second question is, the concept of the filling the entire space. Could you just elaborate? Are we voting on one or the other, or could you just clarify? Is it a selection of an artist, or is it a selection of the artist and the implementation concept?
Really, so it's a selection of the design proposal by one of the two artists. So the reason why I brought two options for the first concept and only one for Damon's concept is that the panel felt strongly that covering the entire intersection in this rather robust design might be somewhat distracting for both pedestrians and drivers. And they recommended just moving forward with the crosswalk proposal.
Can you show Tiffany's design?
Right.
So is it one of these, or is there another one which filled it all?
Right. So in case of Tiffany's design, both variations were recommended for the commission's consideration.
Is this one of the two?
So this is the proposal for the entire raised intersection, and this is the proposal for crosswalks only.
And the bottom one was the preferred one by the panel, the extended crosswalk.
Got it.
That's correct.
Is there a material difference in the price?
Yeah, that was my question.
So it would be the same material in either
No,
case.
I mean materials. Is there a significant difference in the cost to do the entire intersection as opposed to one of these two designs?
This to be determined with the manufacturer. But technically, yes, depending on, so the price is estimated per square foot for the material application.
So let me just jump in here for a second. So the commission already allocated funds up to $80,000, which was pretty aggressive for covering the entire thing. This particular material, it looks as though we wouldn't actually have to cover the entire thing, that the color stripes could go on top. So I think that's less of a concern for us at this point.
Okay, so we've allocated enough funds.
We allocated funds. We would have to confirm that, but staff feels very comfortable about the budget.
So I have two maybe 3 questions. So just remind me, so what, again, the material is paint, right? That we're, like, because, I mean, remind me again, because now that we're seeing the designs, I think I want to just need clarification about what the material is. And then the second thing, again, is the time frame, because I'm going to open this up to everybody, but my biggest concern is to be honest with you, I would like to have additional other ideas, and I'm a little torn between these two. I'm not sure if I like either one of them, but with that being said, I mean, the one thing is that this particular piece, if people are driving all over it, it's not going to wear as much. I'm putting wear in quotations, whereas I feel like the koi, I like the concept of it, but like if it gets driven over all the time, like, are we really going to consider refurbishing it? Probably not. And what is that? And it's funny because I'm thinking now about what I mentioned about the digital DNA. I like the idea of something kind of wearing itself out, but at the same time, I don't know. Do we want it to be weared out over like 5 days? I'm just using that as a concept. So I'm just
Thank
putting
you.
it out
So
there.
if I may address
Yeah.
the material question, yes, it's not just paint. The material is called thermoplast. It's industrial grade material designed specifically for crosswalks. There are different kinds of it depending on the intensity, traffic intensity. We've been in preliminary discussion with the manufacturer to discuss the process. And yes, so the artists submitting their designs. The selected design will be translated into digital files that would be printed and used for the material application on site.
So it's kind of hard to tell. I mean,
But the material is
not gonna
very
be the same
durable.
as if you paint it in terms of like the quality.
I know what you mean
Right
because some
here?
communities
Yeah.
do go ahead and paint using just templates. We're going in a different direction here. We're going with the professional manufacturer. And the material is durable. The expected time span is 10 years for this material. And the maintenance that is required is occasional power washing.
I have a comment on the first crosswalk, parabolic crosswalk. And I love the color and the lines. My comment is about safety and how clear the crosswalks will be. When we look at these, you love to see the design, and we're looking at the whole design in a small scale. I'm wondering, and I'm sure the panel talked about this, are these very clear, are they marked clearly, the crosswalks, so people won't say, oh, look at this, I can cross diagonally here, because it is a very busy intersection, there's a school there, and so I'm just wondering, is it clear pathfinding, wayfinding?
Yes, thank you. So the colors will be visible and very clear. It's really hard to judge by preliminary conceptual rendering, but we may tweak the choice of colors, once we are in the fabrication phase. So it will be done in consultation between the artist and fabricator. Manufacturer.
Nadia, just one quick question. So unlike the koi, would this be individual little strips? I think you kind of put on it, or would it be one piece with the lines on?
Well, as you can see, they are interconnected, right? So that's part of the concept for this proposal. So,
So the back, what's the back, because is it going to be not see-through, but like translucent?
the color is solid. The color of the stripes is solid.
But the lines, in between the lines, there's that space, right? So is that,
I think we'd have to work
Does
with
that
the
make sense?
Yes, it
Yes.
does. I understand your question. We would have to work with the manufacturer to find the right solution because where they cross over, we don't want to create too much mounding, but that's something we work out with them.
Just to clarify, I think, to Nia's question, the thermoplast is the same material that we're used to seeing in Palo Alto. It's the green bike lane. So when you go down Middlefield in front of Jordan, where they've redone all of the all of Middlefield, that's thermoplast, so it's crazy industrial strong. I'm not concerned about it wearing out, it's not paint, I think it's really will be robust. I really share your concern. I'm initially looking at this first design where it's the entire crosswalk, and I think, wow, that's great. And then I think, oh, well, you know what? This is a crosswalk, and if there's any doubt at all, I mean, I'll leave it to you guys to, I prefer this design to the other design, but I would say do the simple one where it's very clearly a crosswalk. And unless you figure out with the, I mean, I'd hate to have something come back to the community and they say, what the hell did you guys do? This isn't really clearly delineated and we have safety concerns.
Yeah, I share those concerns as well, and I suck at math, so. And I don't think it's a good idea to have the whole intersection with lines through it, because like everybody else was saying, especially that one corner, you can almost take that as another crosswalk. That's the corner that's in between there. With it all. I kind of like the koi because of the temple, the Buddhist temple that's close by. That kind of ties in with that area. But I like them both. It's just.
You know, I like the koi too, but if you read the letters that came in, did you see the comment that the guy made about, you know, things being understated? And that's why I was asking, is there anyone on the panel that was from the temple?
Right.
I mean, hate to be like, oh, well, the commission voted, and we like culturally insensitive.
So having local community members was really important for us. So we did make a few.
You tried. No, I'm not
attempts
questioning
to
it.
have all the stakeholders at the table. So securing a Lonie representative was very helpful, but unfortunately we didn't hear back from the temple.
And I think too, the other thing, this is a pilot, so who knows, maybe
It
it's
is a
something that
pilot.
in the future,
We're
we'll
learning.
get other ideas.
The koi are beautiful, but it's more thematic, and this is more just colorful and kind of fits, because there's many cultures in that neighborhood, so I think it's good to have a little more open.
Okay, do we vote in these a secret ballot kind of thing, or do we all we don't need to do that. Okay, so.
I'd say someone make a motion for one of those or another and see if
okay.
it has legs.
I move to approve Tiffany Stakem, and we'll defer to staff and the artist to figure out which version of it is we go with.
I second.
I second, but can I make a friendly amendment that they just do the crosswalks and not the interior part?
Do you need a definitive answer from us on this, which version we're selecting?
I don't think so. I think we can have this further discussion with the transportation planner we're working with, and just the artists and manufacturer, and determine the best way to move forward.
Because you may be able to really pop these.
Yeah. All right, so we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have 3 to the aye. No, so that, then we're done.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, Ben, did you retract your
I did.
amendment?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. We'll
Okay.
defer to the,
Okay.
So we have 3
To the
out of 5
experts.
of us in favor of the first design by Tiffany Stakem. So we're decided.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Thank you. It's exciting. I'm really fired up to see what this will be. And I know it's a little bit of a safer design, but I think that as a first pass, it's great. And we can do, and once we kind of get a feel from how people respond.
I actually had some comments to this.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I agree that this is confusing, and I think the color over the whole stretch is actually an attractive nuisance in terms of giving pedestrians the wrong impression that they're allowed to walk there. However, this is such a fantastic design that it may be a wonderful application or design for walkways that, like in downtown Palo Alto, and I think people would love to see that. And then, in comparison to this just seemed almost underwhelming Because you see, whole swath of cloth versus this. Secondarily, I was actually quite charmed by this. This reminds me of, remember those colorful monsters for, is it Murakami for the Louis Vuitton, like, the cartoonish, right, application, the Japanese cartoonish application. But then again, I'm kind of sensitive to the fact that this may not be an artist of Japanese heritage. So, maybe there's some cultural undertones that we don't really fully appreciate. So it would be good to kind of reach out to maybe a subject matter expert who can kind of vet that out. So in long and short of it, I think I'm supportive of either design, so long as it's, we cover the sort of the risk that we've identified.
Given Commissioner Shen's comments, I actually want to reopen the vote again. But before we do vote, are there any other, Nia, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I added
Okay.
what I needed.
I have a comment. I think the parabolic crosswalk would work, what I call a free-for-all crosswalk, where, everybody crosses every way at one time. There's a couple of those in Walnut Creek, I think.
When the
and some
lights
of-
are like-
Yeah, and all the traffic stops, and everybody can cross whatever way they want. I think that would work great in an intersection like that, the full one, because then you have lines that would, and people could just walk. But I think in like this, especially when you have separated streets, the full pattern would be very confusing to drivers and especially pedestrians.
All right, let's frame this differently. Let's say that Bellinger work, the COI, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that, subject to further investigation for the cultural, undertone, the COI.
Okay, so all in favor of the Bellinger piece?
Which is
The COI?
Wait, sorry, I'm confused. So are we voting?
So I wanted to, just because we hadn't heard, I'm flipping it around, and so we're now voting. So we have a motion to approve, and we have a second, and now we're voting. And if we don't vote to approve the Bellinger by a majority, then we will have been approved the Stakem by default. Does that make sense? So let me just do that again. So we have a motion to approve, we have a second, all in favor? Okay. Just like a point of order. So you guys, you motion to approve it, but you don't actually want to vote for it?
Oh, no, yeah, they can say,
You can call for opposed.
Oh, okay. Opposed.
Aye, nay.
Keep your hands up.
Opposed. All right. You move to approve it.
Sorry, okay.
Did you want to vote for
No, I don't.
Okay.
that? Okay, so then let's.
All right. Then let's retract. So so go ahead. We stick with
I
our
would
initial.
recommend that someone just make a motion for what they would like to see approved, see if there's a second, and see if it goes forward.
Okay. I move to approve the Tiffany Stakem design. Do we have a
I
second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Call for opposed too.
And all opposed?
Abstain.
Did you vote? Did you abstain?
I didn't abstain. I actually support either, so long as it's clearly marked. So long as it's just a sidewalk, I think I'm okay with either.
So then I'm just a tiny bit confused if there needs to be a motion with one vote, another motion for the fish piece, for the koi piece.
Okay. So we have 3 in favor, 3 out of 5 in favor for the Tiffany Stakem. So let's, do we have a motion to approve the Bellinger piece, the koi fish?
I would move.
Do we have a second?
I would second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all, do we have anyone opposed? Opposed. So we have 3 opposed and 2 for.
Okay, and there's one other thing I'm confused on.
Okay.
You had three voting for the other one?
Yes.
Did you have one nay?
No, we had no response.
So there needs to be either
A nay,
yay,
okay,
nay, or abstain
okay.
for the first vote. So could you redo the?
Okay, let's-
Can I just, so I am also with Sonia that I like both.
Okay,
But
so,
I think that, but
we need
I'm
to
okay
make a
with going
decision.
with either one, with for the full.
Okay, all right,
So
okay.
I think,
I would recommend that you table the votes, continue the discussion, and then redo the votes. Because there's clearly needs to be a little more discussion because there's uncertainty.
Sounds good. All right, so tabling the votes, the previous votes, and now we're voting on new.
You're entertaining discussion.
Okay. Any other comments we'd like to have on
Is
the
it,
options?
is it my understanding, just so I can be clear, that the thing that is most important to the commissioners at this time is safety before design? Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing? So you like both designs, but you feel that one is more clear wayfinding than the other? Is that correct? You see what
I
I'm
think
saying?
that-
One
I
is
think
that- My answer would be
crosswalks
no.
and one is not. Is that?
I do agree that I think there should be, I do believe that safety is an important factor. But my actually concern is what it's gonna look like, what the fabrication's gonna look like. I really, to be honest with you, I'm kind of, I could see what the koi would look like, but this particular
Got
one,
it.
I'm wondering, like, how it's gonna look. Is it gonna be, I see that, but like, I wanna see it more fabricated looking, like the koi, it looks
You-
more fabricated
right,
than
right.
its design. So this one, it's like, I see an image, but I'm like, how exciting is it gonna be? And so yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of where. Can I ask you,
It's
so
better
the other
understanding.
design,
Thank you.
the koi, I'm assuming he either drew that or did a digital form and then just put it. Okay, cause,
Excuse me. This is in city rendering, so the artist just used Google Map that we provided as part of the call, and applied his
I just,
design.
it's so visually easy to understand and to grasp, whereas the other one I'm having a very difficult time kind of seeing what it's gonna look like, and it's hard sometimes when you see a graphic design image and you're like, okay, well, how is it gonna really interpret in person? So that was my concern, but I do also agree with safety, so.
I prefer the koi, but I think I'm concerned about offending people in the community that, that's the wrong thing. So I think that I'd rather go with a more conservative design.
I mean, I think there was one comment that was negative, but before I came to that comment that was negative, I was very much charmed by the koi, and I was very much thinking that this is a school environment. You're going to have a lot of kids, so that interactive, playful nature of it would be really quite suitable. And also because the age group, while as much as I think the colors are sort of a big pop, it would seem appropriate for the age group and the activities around going to school with parents or guardians. So in that context, I was very much charmed by it. I must say, I looked at the Tiffany design. First, I was very impressed by this spread, the big overall one. But I think as Lauren had identified, I think this is really gives miscue to the pedestrians as to what we're allowing them to use as a walkway, which may cause traffic hazard. And so reducing it down to this narrow design of only the walkway, I think is non-offensive. And maybe in time, it would be, it could be very beautiful, but it just seems like, we don't have an objection against it, right? So that's sort of how I'm coming out.
Thank you for clarifying, both of you.
And I will also say too, I also felt that this, sorry, it's right. I also really like this, and I also was very charmed by the koi too. Yeah. And what was interesting too is that when I look at these two pieces, if we were to do a middle, I like the second one, the one at the bottom better, just because I like
Extended
that it's
clause.
more, it is kind of like a little bit more exciting. And it kind of, it's like a combination kind of like a very kind of exact crosswalk, and also a little bit of some abstraction, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, I have one other question. I don't know if it's something that we're interested in doing, but do we have some time that we could go to a couple of other, like the Buddhist temple, or a couple of other organizations that we didn't really get a chance to talk to, and say we have these two designs and we're kind of on the fence with it, and can we get your input? Is that something that, or do we want to do that? I don't know.
So with the current timeline, we have to move rather aggressively because the construction works will commence in January, and here we are already in the end of November. So we just have 1 month to perhaps tweak the design with the artist in consultation with the city traffic department and the fabricator to address any safety concerns, how the colors would read on site and whatnot. So we have to make a decision sooner rather than later.
All right. I'm convinced, flipping my preference to the koi for the reasons that you guys kind of, I think it's more clearly a crosswalk. B, I hadn't really thought, okay, yeah, this is a school setting and they're little kids, these are not high schoolers. And I think it's cute and it's fun and it's charming. And one guy commented, and we reached out to the community. So I think it's a good call. So I'm going to move that we approve the koi. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? One opposed. Okay.
All right, let's move on.
This one. This one.
Thank you, Rai, for suggesting continued discussion.
And he said, he talks about the art.
My pleasure.
All right.
Seems
The downtown parking garage.
Downtown parking.
I think in time. Yeah. Follow the school, right? Follow the school. I mean, follow the school of fish, right? Going to school. There's just so many play on words.
Okay, so just a quick reminder of the downtown parking garage site and what we're talking about. 5-level above-ground parking garage over 1 basement level parking. Here is the site. So it's existing. It's that L-shaped site there on the corner of Waverly and Hamilton. It's currently a surface lot, so we're looking to build on that and maximize parking spots. One thing I want to point out to you, it is kind of an unusual site because part of the garage is going to wrap around behind those 3 buildings you see. So you've got the large AT&T building on the lower part of the screen. You have those 3 smaller buildings, that's Taipan, Palo Alto Toy and Sport, and Prolific Oven. Marbles are rolling. And right across Hamilton is the post office. So, I mean, architecturally, there's a lot going on and a lot of diversity. And so the design is currently still going through iterations, has not been approved, but we do want to get the artist in early enough to be able to engage with the project. So on the corner of Waverly and Hamilton, in both of those, I guess the top 2 slides, you can easily see there's sort of a pedestrian plaza that leads to the stairwells above. So that pedestrian plaza is an opportunity for artwork, as well as the metal cladding on the stairwell. So that is some sort of perforated metal as it's sort of held now. And if you look at the lower left, image, you'll see that essentially building the structure creates this another pass-through alley. And, you know, given our experience with code art and wanting to activate alleys, that's something we also want to make sure the artist is very mindful of. Now, the architect here has made plans for green walls and for lighting, you know, pretty decorative lighting and things like that to make it a nice space that people will feel safe navigating. But we also will be calling that out to the artists. And then the two images on the right, and I apologize for duplicates, but essentially what it's showing is if there are photovoltaics on the roof or not. So that's the only difference in the drawing. So it's I'm not trying to trick you with, what's the difference? Can you find 6 things? So you'll see, though, in that, let's go with the lower right, where the car is going in, that's the main entrance and exit to the garage. And so we have that same metal cladding that's on the corner stairwell there. And that could be a great opportunity for public art to help people find the entrance to this new structure. So here are our project goals. You know, the downtown corridor is certainly unique. There's a lot happening there. There's the large church that runs a soup kitchen directly across the street as well. The budget for this project is a little smaller than the California Avenue budget. It's $190,000. We've talked through the opportunities when I showed you the plans. And so here's our selection process. So we had 35 artists from the pre-qualified pool. We had 5 artists make presentations to the panel. And then Amy Landisberg was selected as the project artist. And here you see our panel. It was really fun to get Pace Gallery and Pacific Art League involved. You know, there are some great art institutions down here. So to share a little bit about Amy Landisberg, we're going to start here. This was one of her first really large public art projects, and she was asked to mask this power facility. Good luck. At the Georgia Institute of Technology. And so here, and this was something that was really interesting to the panel, you see some of her early ideas about designs. And she said, well, of course you realize you're not going to obstruct the whole thing. It's enormous. And there are parts of it that are kind of interesting, but other than just creating a giant wall, you know, you're not going to be able to hide it. So what she did instead was created this screen that has different windows of opportunity to see into it and masks it in other places and really plays with light in a creative way. And here you see it at night, so there are different colored lights that come on within the space. So while she knew she wasn't going to be able to hide the whole thing, she definitely made the most of the opportunity. This is a project, Birth of Atlanta, which was commissioned during the Atlanta Olympics. And the piece was temporarily taken down, and people loved it so much it is being reinstalled. And so I wanted to show you a couple images of the piece. This is a project she did in the Atlanta airport. And these are abstractions of wood veneers of endangered or extinct trees, of 29 of them. And so what you see is those wood veneers under a microscope and then playing with pumping up the real colors. So here you see a couple of the panels in glass, but as you can see from the center model, it's a huge project. So it covers this enormous corridor. She was also given a lot of interesting challenges after the fact and was able to find creative solutions for those pretty quickly and easily.
Elise, what's the material that she used for that? Do we know?
Glass.
Glass, okay. Sorry, you might have just said that.
It's fine. This is a project that she did, obviously, it's a fire station. But the piece on the upper right is actually, it's a sundial. So here you can see the little needle, the way the reflection comes down, so it comes to the opposite corner. Very creative solution. And at night, they can light it different colors depending on different events and things that are taking place. So they can
Very
change the
subtle.
colors of it.
Very subtle.
Very subtle. This,
Okay, I remember this.
have you seen the, yeah, so you have seen
The
this.
Honda light.
So, this is in the car rental facility in San Diego. And what you're looking at are all Hyundai left turn signal lights, tail lights. And there is this sort of sense of whimsy when you come around the corner to get in your car. And she said she was thinking about the hundreds of vehicles that come and go like every hour when she's there. And she was looking at this image and then thinking about ants and sort of bees and swarm mentality, and a way to animate some of those elements with a behavior. And so here you can see some of the models in looking at a hive and the way that a hive is made, and also the way birds or bees or different kinds of animals have this swarm behavior. And so she used computer animations to recreate what a swarm behavior in that space would look like, which derived this this configuration.
Amazing.
And then here you have an image of the hives, which are the side view mirrors. And here you can see all the different cars coming and going on the different levels, because it houses all of the car rental companies. So it literally has hundreds of cars coming and going every hour.
Right. Wow.
I don't remember right now.
Put me total. Did Hyundai pay for some of that?
I haven't been able to ask her that quite yet, but I will get there. But somebody on the panel speculated that maybe Hyundai had a recall or something, something like that. But we'll see what we can find out. That's certainly a lot of parts to get hold of. This is kind of an interesting project. This was in a community center in Decatur, Georgia. And they were building this extension onto it. And so in meeting with the community, everyone kept talking about that front brick wall that had these openings to it, and that they were kind of felt nostalgic about it and really loved it, and it helped them know that they were there, and it was, this community center is very, very heavily used for all kinds of programming. And so what she ended up doing was essentially duplicating that texture of the wall in the new dance studio. So there was enough reflectivity in the mirrored spaces so that it could be used for dance, but there was still that glimpse of the outside that the original brick wall gave. And the panel, thought that this was such a thoughtful treatment, and that really came through in a number of her projects, that she was really passionate about doing something very site-specific. And that came through in all of her work. So here you have a few more images of what that treatment looks like. So she essentially replaced that open brick wall with this version of it. So we would like to request that Amy Landisberg be approved for the downtown parking garage project, at which time she will be given a design contract, travel here, meet with stakeholders, and begin her concept development. That concept, of course, will then come back to the Public Art Commission for approval prior to her getting into any sort of fabrication and detailed design.
May I add a comment?
Sure.
May I add a comment? I just wanted to say that we study her work for the Cal Avenue parking lot. And I think she was a very close second. And I'm so excited that we're going to have her work in downtown Palo Alto. Just thrilled.
It's a good recollection. She was the runner-up for that Cal Ave.
Well, I was on the panel, and it was very interesting. All the artists, I think only 4 actually made a presentation at the panel, but all 4 artists used light, and I thought that was very important because of the parking garage at night. to have some light, to be wayfinding at night and that sort of stuff. Amy was one of the two artists that commented that they would get community input, which I think is very important too, because oral histories we need to capture those. And the input from people with oral histories, like this brick wall, can be very important to the art that goes in. So I'm very happy that she was chosen for this project.
Any other comments or questions? I think it's great. I'm super excited to see what she would do. To the extent that you can do something fun with, I don't know, Tesla parts and get Tesla to pay for something. They're local.
We want the James Lee roof, we need that.
I move to approve Amy Landisberg as a selected artist.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 My fiance has a Hyundai, and that car has had more recalls than any 5 cars put together, so the taillights may be from a recall, I'm not sure, but that car is a 2011, has had at least 12 recalls on it.
Wow.
So they may be defective Hyundai lights.
Lots of available parts.
Okay, our next action item is the Junior Museum and Zoo.
Or we have talked about Tesla donating for the roof.
Yeah.
I think we could get some car parts too.
We could build our own car.
Throw in a few doors or something, come on. We need to stretch that budget.
Some batteries,
No batteries.
engine.
So here we are on item 6, getting a little punchy, I know. Thank you all. For the Junior Museum and Zoo. So, as you may recall, we did an open call in December 2016. We had over 250 applications. Staff conducted 3 pre-panels that narrowed it to the 20 artists that were considered by the selection panel. Soares was approved by the Public Art Commission as the project artist in May of 2017. And since that time, he's been hard at work developing a few different concepts. On October 20th, gosh, it was that recent? Feels like it was months ago. Soares met with the design team and key stakeholders to discuss 3 potential concepts to develop for the Junior Museum and Zoo project. The team agreed that his pendulum swings concept was the best and should definitely be developed further. The pendulum swings, well, I'll get into that in a second. Hang on. I just want to give you a quick refresh, and this is an older PDF. Some of the elements of the project has shifted, so don't get too married to the details here, please. But a number of spots that we had called out in the initial call and to the artists as opportunities for artwork. If you start on the lower right, that tunnel passage through there was an opportunity perhaps for an artist to get involved, where they had that placeholder sundial. That arrival plaza was a potential spot. That covered open area where you see the dark screen was a potential area. And then, of course, if you travel to the far left of that image and see that other circle where the entrance to the park is, that is another potential spot for public art. But the Junior Museum and Zoo really wanted something that would attract people, that would really emphasize the entrance and reflect what they do there. So this is the first rendering of the pendulum swings. The pendulum swings are large, slow-moving pendulums that can be ridden by adults or children, activating the sails above the roofline of the Junior Museum and Zoo. The design team really was blown away. There was just no question on the other two. As soon as they saw this, that they were like, that's exactly everything we want it to be. We want it to be fun. We want it to be elegant. We want it to reflect some of the nature of the science activities that we do here. Now, what he has in that proposal just shows up above, and this shows what it might look like as they what he's shown there are, they could be flags, they could be sails. His initial idea was that there might be some way when you're on it to deploy the sail, if it's, a switch or a rope or something, so that if there is some wind, you might be able to capture it and feel its effect on your riding the swing. But that it would automatically collapse, because you don't, if you have a wind event, you don't want that up there all the time. It could also be some sort of flag. So again, these are conceptual renderings, and now now we will go into the tough stuff of detailed designs. Clearly with these, right now he's got 5 elements, they're 40 feet tall. There's a lot of engineering and detail that needs to be worked out to get more accurate costing for this. There would be some sort of damper on the movement so that it's only a controlled radius and that it would not be a fast-moving object. So, of course, we've had a lot of discussions about how to mitigate the safety, and the team is all on board and does not see any issues there.
And that's an indoor or outdoor space or next to you? Because I was just curious about like rain.
Yeah. It's a covered area outside the museum. So if you look at the rendering on the lower right, that's sort of the arrivals plaza, and then there's a window further. I wonder, is it in the other one? So if you see there underneath where it says Junior Museum and Zoo, there will be sort of a ticket window there where people can buy their tickets. So part of what the panel had discussed, they said, oh, I can completely imagine, I'll go get the tickets and the kids go hang out on the pendulum swings while I get our tickets to go in. So that is the concept at this point by Charles Sowers.
Where's the hinge that it swings from?
Strategically hidden, but that's one of the things we would have to work out, if the hinge is integrated with the building or if it's a freestanding, and that's probably more likely the way it's going to go, is a freestanding. There's 2 supports on either side, almost like you would have for a swing set support, right, that come up and across. So it would hinge on that. I think the one that looked up showed.
That one.
So here, in the one looking through the roof window, you see that there's that crossbar, that support bar.
And the crossbar is, and maybe you don't know, but is it something that is attached to the roof, and so it's just like a point of attachment here, or it comes down to the ground and there are posts on either side?
Those are all details we'd have to work out. So, clearly if it's going to be architecturally integrated, that would require a lot more reinforcement of that roof. It's probably going to be something that's freestanding, is my guess. But we definitely want to explore some of those options to make it as sleek as we can and clean design.
What's the budget for this one?
The budget for this one will be about $175,000.
And the artist is confident that this design can be executed within that budget?
Yes, there will be some, it may not be 5 elements, it may be 3 elements. So that's, as we get into detailed design and prototyping, things will definitely shift. But we did want to bring this to the commission so that you see the concept and we can take the next steps of developing this.
I think it looks amazing. If they can pull it off for $175,000. I think actually having a smaller elements would be fine. I think if there's 3, I think if 2 would be a little sad, but I think 3 is plenty.
And I'm just wondering about the size of it, because this is junior museum, so I'm thinking in terms of spacing, the size of it. I imagine it's probably designed more for a smaller person, like children, rather than, I would hate for this to be a place where, drunk adults go and hang out, right? It's like, because it's an open environment, that's the thing.
It is an open environment, and, we can't stop somebody from wanting to hang out
Totally fair, but I'm just saying, like in terms of just when Jim was commenting on how it's built and the safety. So, I imagine there will be some restrictions that will be built into sort of discourage sort of negative use.
Is the space open 7 by 24, or is it like, will that covered area be closed when its museum hours are done?
It'll it'll be open like most of the rest of our public art. It's out there in the world. It's
Yeah, all right.
exposed.
I think that it's really good feedback to be aware, for the artist to design it in a way that it's safe from any malicious activity, right? I mean, I think that's a good point,
And back to
right? That's what you're saying.
And back to your scale question, some of the discussion, I believe what Charles had said, he could imagine children wanting to sit on it, and then adults may not want to sit on it that low, but may step up on it and stand on it. So, yeah, so I think yes, but the scale is definitely meant to be child-friendly, but he said, hey, I'm gonna write it. I plan to write it, so I think everyone's excited about it.
So I think it looks great. I think that it's the kind of thing where I'm assuming the engineers will be very heavily involved, given that if it's going to be open to the public, I can see 5 teenagers climbing on that thing, and it could be, I don't know, it could be 1,000 pounds that it has to support, and 40, I don't know, they'll figure out the math. I think it's great. I move to, any other comments? I move to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Be white, by the way, because that could be interesting, pops of color.
You know, he tends to work in really neutral tones. I don't know if you remember all of his previous work, but a lot of it is sort of a neutral, like grays, creams, whites. And so there's a lot of color involved with the building and the background. So it's probably not going to be white like that because it'll show dirt, but it'll be probably a very neutral color.
But he did talk about that, about not wanting to use color. It came up at the panel too, so it's an interesting question. And he's really into monochrome and very, very neutral, yeah.
Industrial toy.
Okay, so our next item is really to get the agenda lined up for our meeting with council, which is on December the 4th? 4th.
And I'm realizing I had put together a brief list, sort of recommending different commissioners for different sections. So maybe if we could go through the slides and then, yeah. So here are the slides that we've put together for the joint meeting with council. Chair McDowell, of course, would give the welcome and kick it off. As you may recall from last time, the presentation all in is only supposed to be 10 to 15 minutes. So none of you should actually be talking for very long. Because council, the point of this really is to sprint them through a bunch of things, and then they'll circle back and ask the questions they're curious about, or say, hey, can you go back to that temporary project or that upcoming project and tell me more? Right. So I know it's tempting to want to get everything in, but I thought we would have Chair McDowell kick it off, and he could also talk about code art and those objectives and key statistics. So that would be the second and third slides. And then I was thinking perhaps, and fourth, then perhaps Lauren, because you had talked a little bit about the implementation of the master plan. And I am not in any way suggesting that you go through all of these, but really just talk about, hey, we are on track implementing the master plan. And show them this chart.
I mean, we can review it, but I think we have some of those in here already checked off.
Yeah, so on this slide, it shows what we've accomplished already, because we used that at the retreat.
Great. Sure, I will put my initials next to those.
So that's those four.
That's gonna be 20 or 30 minutes, so the rest of you just, back down, okay?
Keep it at a sprint, please.
Oh, there's 4, okay.
And then as if that didn't take long enough.
Yeah.
The temporary public art slide. So again, just sort of big picture listing all the temporary projects that we've accomplished. They really like to see things as the highlights from the last year. This is what we've got going on and this is what we have going forward.
Okay, and you want me to do this too?
Yeah, I had written you down for that. I mean, you all are welcome to trade.
I'll give you two.
I'll give you 2 slides. But I was trying to use some of the groupings that you all had suggested at the last meeting and accommodate some special requests from commissioners for certain items that they would like to talk about. And then I thought we'd switch to Amanda for the year in review awards, CalAb Refresh, and the new logo identity. She's very excited about that.
Wear your new name tag.
Okay.
And yeah, that's a good reminder. And the first two private development projects installed. And then I was hoping, Sinya, if you wouldn't mind just showing them all the current upcoming municipal projects.
I am? Okay, sure.
And I mean, it's a list. There's not much to show there, but I think you could also.
I could just click.
Well, we only have this slide.
Oh, okay.
So it's really just a list because we don't have eye candy for them.
Okay.
But I think you can also speak to being a new commissioner and jumping in and getting to be on some of the selection panels too, because I think for some of the new council members, they may not understand how all that works. And then I was thinking upcoming temporary, Ben, if you might just briefly talk about Blue Trees and Megan Geckler. And then also the de-accession
Thank you.
process.
Listen,
You're
they're
very,
gonna be happy about that because they've asked us about that in the past, so.
but you're very strong on that point, and I think that would be a good message coming from you on just briefly update where we are.
Under the temporary, do we want to, oh, this is upcoming.
Yes,
Not
this is
installed.
upcoming.
Okay,
So
okay.
Lauren did in the last year, and now we've switched to upcoming.
Yeah.
And then I thought it's appropriate to have Mila do some of the murals and talking about our steps to photograph the Greg Browns in thinking about the future of those pieces. And it's also a good opportunity for the commission to share the desire that was really evident about, the commission wants to do murals in the future, and we're still hoping to get our murals policy finalized, but that's something that was definitely discussed and on the radar. And so connected to that is the Arnatov, so I thought Mila could handle that. And then, Mia, I was hoping then you might take over from the public art and private development, just the snapshot of, these are all the projects and sort of the breakdown of in lieu versus everything else.
Well, hold on, better take my name out of the running, because I'm not sure if I'll make it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna just be on the safe side. Unless something changes last minute, I think it's better.
Okay, so I had Nia actually on the last 3 slides, so priorities for the coming year. Public education and outreach, which I don't actually see the slide for, which is too bad. But, so we'll have to slide that in. But really talking about how we want to explore the mobile platform this coming year. Well, I guess it gets covered in this one, priorities for the coming year. So I don't know if anyone else wants to hop back in to take those at the end. Or if Mila then just expands into 5. Just have me, okay. Okay. Huh?
No.
I was gonna say, you can take the last 3 and then we could give your other slide to somebody.
No me, I'm perfectly happy with my one slide. I can give that back to the full.
But there's a lot of great projects there, so,
Yeah, I need to be educated on them.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Do you have an alternative if somebody doesn't show up? Like Jim
It's
and
called
Ben?
Jim and Ben,
Yeah,
right?
so you guys are.
It'll be understudies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know Amanda Russ thought she might have a conflict, but then she confirmed today that she actually does not. She will be at the meeting on the 4th, so.
Lin-Manuel Miranda is gonna show up and do it.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Sure.
Wow.
I know.
How
much time do you expect to cover this?
10 to 15 minutes.
Really?
Yes.
I think so, it's better to have fewer.
They like to ask questions.
Yeah, they wanna get to their questions.
But that's really what they ask for. They don't want a presentation that's long because they have, some of them have,
And they know what's going on, so they're,
yeah.
You'll send us
Council
these
members
slides,
are-
I'm not sure I got this.
none.
Since the last time we had a joint meeting, I can't remember, it was,
Didn't the election
Corey
I think it already
knew.
happened.
Yeah, then I'll do a little.
yeah, there's a couple new ones from,
Yeah, because,
We went to the assembly, right?
we did the public art master plan.
Yeah.
last year is our update.
Yeah.
But
It's been-
Fines new, yeah, we've got some new
Maybe
ones
Adrian
since last
Fine,
time we
yeah.
did this.
Yeah, that's right, because,
Mhm.
Three new.
three new, all right, you gotta pay more attention, okay. Thank you. All right, I think we've worked through a very ambitious agenda. Well done, staff.
Well, thank you all, yeah.
Amazing
And,
staff.
We'll
a long
see
one.
everyone on the 4th, and we don't have a December.
Oh, yeah.
No, because it's normally I don't think we do. Are we, typically
It's
we?
not on the agenda, so.
Yeah, so
Typically, we don't
Yeah.
meet in December.
So
It
wait
would
till
fall on the
January.
20, I think the 21st.
people will be out of town, and, yeah.
So.
We have to meet on the 21st.
So if there's something urgent that comes up, I would say, we could, if we needed to do an emergency quick meeting, a special meeting, we could do that
We've
at
done
an
that.
earlier date.
Sure.
But at this point, I don't see anything time critical that can't wait till January.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other comments before we wrap up?
I do. This is kind of circling back to your point on the koi fish.
Yes.
In terms of asking for public opinion, we understand you're short on time, but maybe just do a sanity check with the school or something, because they know the audience, right?
Tell you what, we're kind of just agenda-wise, we can't kind of reopen, but let's just, we trust you guys to make the right call. If it's one more circle back, I think that's well advised.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Adjourned?
We are adjourned.
57.